so warm, and
Yes,
it was just like.
I think it's warm too. And it takes a lot for me to say that it's warm.
What was your name?
Rebecca.
Rebecca, nice to meet you. And where are you from?
Mifflin County School District.
Okay.
California State College.
Okay, nice.
Not too
Nice.
far.
We're
We're
from
all kind of close to each other then. We're from Milton.
area.
Oh, gotcha.
And he's from Sugar Valley.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We met him the other night, so he's
So we are now.
he's our BFF now. So we apologize, Brock. We keep like bringing you into this. You're now.
All right, we can get
Your
started.
mouse isn't-
4:46.
oh, there it is.
Let's do it.
Turning it on. Okay, I'm Sue Van Kirk. I have a technology background. I've taught technology for 25 years before. About 3 years ago, I took over a role with these ladies and joined these ladies being an instructional coach, K-12.
And I'm Rebel Scoggins, and I have an elementary background. I've been in education for 20 years. The last 6 years have been in the role of I've been in the role of an instructional coach, K-12.
Jana Bond. I joined them 3 years ago. I was a kindergarten first grade teacher in Tulsa, Oklahoma, like inner city schools, very like 96% free reduced lunch, like high poverty area in the city, and then moved back to where I was from, Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, and I've been at Milton for 3 years with them, being an instructional coach. So that's kind of the background. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Brock.
And Brock.
Okay, this is where we were. Am I going ahead?
No, you're good.
Okay. This is where we were, and we knew that things had to change, being digital age, going to one-to-one, that kind of thing. And we knew that the binders of where we were in student data, it wasn't, where we should be.
Do you have, like, at your school districts, do you keep, like, binders or folders or whatever, like, student data notebooks or anything like that, to, like, keep their work and keep their
Come
stuff?
close. If you need to leave, we won't
We
be
will not be
insulted.
offended, promise. So yeah, our district was, we were under the initiative and the requirements that all teachers are collecting data for their students, and what we used to have were these orange binders, orange folders that, we would have to figure out where to store them all, from one year to the next. If I was in one classroom and there was a meeting, I'd have to make sure in another part of the building or in another building about that student, we'd have to okay, let's go track down the teacher and find out, let's get all the data and everything on this student and kind of dig for it. So it was just, that was one big problem with having physical binders.
Yeah. And one of the things was, like, the teachers would, like, save up, like, really good artifacts or things to, like, put in the students' notebooks so that you'd have, like, stacks of these papers that teachers would be like, okay, everybody sit down, put all these in your data notebooks. And so it was just, like, a lot of paperwork, a lot of not super meaningful note keeping or data keeping. We really wanted something that would have the teachers, the students to be more, like, student driven and them to
There were
have
many
ownership over it.
misplaced binders and folders in students' desks, or when they would move from one classroom to the next, or like from one grade level to the next, then they would collect them at the end of the year, then they would go in a closet, a supply closet, and then they'd come back out, and it's like, all right, let's distribute them and let's figure out where the student is, and it
Ended up being a really big hassle when,
It was-
like, 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago we had mold. Did you guys
Yes.
have the mold issue like 2 summers ago?
when the mold gate, we call it the mold gate.
Oh, we got lost so much.
It was
Yes.
awful, like devastating.
Including data
No,
folders.
like it was so devastating. Like we had so many things thrown out, and like people just came in, whoever were the mold cleaner people, and they just were throwing stuff out, like books and these data binders, like years of like student data just gone because we didn't even get a chance to go into our own classrooms, like teachers didn't. It's like it's all gone. So like this paper copy, this hard copy of all their work, everything that like from if you had a 5th grade kid, like from kindergarten on to 5th grade, like all that was lost. So that was kind of devastating.
Artifacts, and a lot of times the students were really putting, because it was a combination of teachers saying, okay, we want you to put this in, or it was like what the students felt like was important, what they wanted to save,
Like a
and to
portfolio,
it's their portfolio is exactly what it was.
And that combined with the fact that, at least at the secondary level, every month to complete goal sheets, a sheet of paper was printed out per student. 1,200 sheets of paper every single month on one day to be able to be distributed during that time when they were supposed to be completing their goal sheets. Plus all the artifacts, the handouts, and all the other things that they're putting in here. That alone is just a huge costly factor. And we calculated out, we got on, I think Staples or some kind of website that you could purchase the binders, and we figured out that it would be at least $4,200 just to buy the binders alone, initially, you know, but maintenance and that kind of the issues with it.
Like the sheet protectors and
have
stuff
even
like
more
that,
expense, you know, later on. Exactly. Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome.
No, that's
No
okay.
worries.
We're
We're
excited.
just happy you're here.
Yes, we're
Double
like,
our
okay,
size.
this is
Hard
like,
to be in the last one.
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
And we didn't care. We don't care that there's only 6 people
and we're like,
there.
it's okay, just come in, and if it
And if
doesn't
you feel like it doesn't
apply,
apply, you're welcome.
we are
to walk
not,
out.
yes,
We will not
we're
be
not standing
insulted.
here insulted. Are you guys Microsoft school?
Yeah.
Oh, good, all right,
That's why
perfect.
we were excited to come.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So we were just giving a little bit of background of our data collection, our student data collection, like a portfolio, and how we were using just binders and folders. We had orange folders and orange binders, and they were, you know, and the different
physical
pros
hard
or the
copy.
negatives and the cons of that. So that's just kind of all you guys. I'm Rebel Scoggins.
I'm Sue Van Cook.
Jana.
And we're all instructional coaches
Yes.
in Milton School District.
If you're familiar with that
Central
area.
Pennsylvania. We're about 3 hours east of. Alrighty.
So,
Okay.
So this is just a little bit about our digital conversion years. We started in 2015-16 with, at grade 2, we had like a 1-to-3 ratio with iPads. So like we had some iPads in there, the middle school and the high school. There were laptop carts of like maybe 20 and we had 2 laptop carts per building between each of those that the teachers could check out. Then 16 and 17, we still had the same ratio and really the same, we really had the same in that year. So we didn't really,
Except for we
Rolled
jumped
it
from
out.
grades 2
we
to 5.
jumped through, we did jump from grades 2 to 5 that had the iPad accessibility.
High
And then,
school only had like laptop or labs.
yeah, they still
like
had the
classroom
laptop
labs.
carts, yeah.
Yeah, a couple carts.
And this is all in addition, we did have computer labs, like desktop labs with like a classroom, you know, classroom laptop. So 2017, 18, we were K to 5, we had a little bit of a better ratio with our iPads, we had 10 iPads. You know, we still had the laptop carts, but then with our special ed, we were able to get iPads for them. And that is really, about this time is when we really started to, if you know, station-based learning, hybrid learning, we were embedding that in, and really, with the 10 iPads, you couldn't do whole class things, or, you know, each student didn't have it wasn't a 1-to-1 ratio, so they were really thinking of that station-based, and that's really when we started implementing that hybrid learning model. And then 2018, 19 was our first year that we were 1-to-1. And K through 5 in our district have iPads, and then the secondary level, they each have the laptops. With our K1 and 2 students, they don't take their iPads home at this point. There are some like special requests from parents, or if there's a special, you know, need, then they take them home, but really they keep them here at school. So those were our digital conversion years with our iPads. So and prior to, I think I already mentioned that prior to 2015 and even up until the 18-19 school year, we had the classroom labs that we would take, and we actually had a technology coach, technology teacher, I should say,
K to 5.
that was like a related arts rotation specialist. So up until,
And now we have no labs.
and now we don't have any other labs. So that's just a little background about our digital conversion years, and then so kind of tying that into, all right.
Where are your schools at? Are any of you 1-to-1? Like, where are you guys at right now?
In the middle there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 to 3.
Yeah, getting there.
1 to 2.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm at a cyber school, so we're
Fully 1-to-1.
essentially 1-to-1.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. You guys are 1-to-1.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought so. And you are?
We are not 1-to-1. We have lots of laptop carts.
Okay.
Not living in a dream world yet.
Yeah, I understand.
That's good. I know, it was
Pros and cons
amazing.
to everything.
Yes,
So,
right. Exactly. There really are.
We did take pretty good pride on our process and the fact that we were a slow rollout. Other schools in our area were immediate. They go from a couple labs to immediate 1-to-1, and their process was horrible because teachers just didn't know what to do with them. And we even have another fellow coach who's now retired that was hired out by neighboring schools to educate them and better their process on becoming the one-to-one school. So it's pretty neat that we took it, not necessarily this concept by any means, but our one-to-one process was a good model to follow. Alrighty? Okay. The process itself in getting these digital things, yes, both Class Notebook and OneNote are involved. And y'all know that first, before we go any further, y'all know the difference between Class Notebook and OneNote? They look alike, but they're not at all. Well, I don't want to say not at all. It's great note-taking, but in essence, the Class Notebook is kind of more geared toward data collecting, because it's and collaborating. It's where you can share with students, with staff, with whoever, where OneNote is more like an individual document, where you would create it for yourself, not for others, to share with and collaborate with others. So it's just a little background information on that. Alrighty. The process itself, we knew the change had to happen, absolutely had to happen, with the cost involved, with losing data. I don't know if you guys were in the room when we talked about it. We talked about Moldgate. I don't know if you guys had mold issues 2 years ago, when it was all that rain through the summer. We were actually, we didn't say this, we were actually closed the first 2 weeks of school, which was kind of nice, not gonna lie.
Made the rest of the year terrible because we didn't have a day off in between.
Yeah, it was.
First
It
day
was
of
a
school.
horrible year. It was a horrible school year. But we lost a huge portion of our students' data in that mold game, because our mold cleaning people came in and wiped us out without ever asking us what we needed. They just pulled it out if it had any sign of
to the rescue.
yeah, the green vans.
Yeah.
Anyway, they lived at our school district for a couple of weeks at the beginning of that school year. But anyway, we knew besides that factor, the fact that we were now a one-to-one, that it was ridiculous to continue the paper process when we could do it digitally. Alrighty? So, we knew also, in this process, we knew we were a Microsoft school. We knew we had to use those kind of tools to tie it in with our grading, or our SIS, our Student Information System, our Learning Management System, whatever you want to call it, is Sapphire. I don't know if you're familiar with Sapphire or if you use it. I'm sure your district's grading system might have similar qualities to ours, but what we used besides Microsoft was Sapphire. Alrighty? We had the elementary level. These are the things that we had gone through. We use the Class Notebook, and the fact that with this level, we couldn't have the students be totally responsible. They're kindergartners, up to 5th graders. Maybe 5th graders could have been, but we put it more in the hands of the teachers. What they had to do was create a Class Notebook where they can house all of their all of their students' works. Alrighty, so if you're familiar with it, you create a class. In this sense, it would be just a data collection class, and then you add all your students to it. And then you just put in their artifacts, their goal sheets. And not only that, and Jana's going to show you in a second, it was in the hands of the teacher, but it's also in the hands of the student too, because they have access to their area of that Class Notebook. So they're the ones that are going to be adding the artifacts. And she's got some really cool pictures of kids actually doing the work, and they were actually kind of excited when we would go into classrooms and help the teachers with getting their artifacts in there. It was a cool process at that level.
Taking pictures of their writing samples and you know, doing a
goals
video
and all sorts of things.
So
Yeah, pretty cool. But anyway, so it is more on the teacher and the student responsibility, and in the process also they'd have to create a read-only link so we can put it into our grading system, and we'll talk about that process in a little bit. There's a secondary level, like I said before, we use OneNote here. Big difference is full responsibility on the student. Alrighty, the only initial responsibility, and we're going to elaborate this on in a little bit, on the teacher is the initial one, and then just making sure that the student is doing the work and putting the material in there. And like I said, we'll talk about that more later on. But these are the kinds of things that they'll do. Monthly goal sheets, very similar to the elementary level, and again, it's going to create a read-only link that we put into our Sapphire grading system.
Is this making any kind of sense at all at this point? All right, just do a little check-in here.
All right.
All right,
And it
just
will.
to make sure that we're like.
With their goal sheets where it looked like, were there like certain things that they
Yep,
had to
and
do?
we even have an example of
We
one.
will
Yep.
share that with you.
I don't know if
but
you
yes.
require your students to do that. That's one of our requirements. Every month, at the beginning of the month, they have to set their goals for that month. And
Are you elementary or? Okay, so elementary is a little more open. The
Right.
secondary is more of a template, whereas at the elementary, you know, they don't have a specific. We don't really have a specific template for them. I don't believe.
Mm-mm.
Not that I ever created or we worked
I don't
on,
think
but
so.
it's more of we gave them some suggestions. We talked with the teachers and you know, talked to them about some of the things that they could have their students putting in. And it can be anything from an audio recording of the student like actually in kindergarten, first grade, a lot of them were just verbally, and they were recording what their goal was, what the student, what they were saying to the teacher, you know, and we have a clip then of it, but, yeah, so.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm in a weird situation. I'm middle school.
Mhm.
We are currently not Microsoft. We are shifting to Microsoft,
Right.
which is why I picked this session.
Mhm.
Right now, we don't really have anything. We're not Google, not Microsoft.
Right.
We're in this like hodgepodge area. So for your middle schoolers, which probably would be in your secondary
Yes.
section, do you do for your monthly goal sheets? Because I really like we're not doing any sort of normal standardized collection of data at all. I teach history. Do you do that by subject, or just like the homeroom teacher does that, or?
So, yeah, at the middle school, they have a homeroom teacher, or what we call it a pride teacher.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's basically, essentially a homeroom.
Homeroom teacher.
And
I
that,
really like that idea.
and that teacher is the one that is like their case manager, if you will. So they do
Yeah.
kind of make sure that it's in, they set aside a time to like make sure that they get it in. But the
They still get
subject,
some of that.
they can fill in any of their subjects. It can be a goal for any area.
And we'll share a
and
worksheet with you, and
we'll
you
share.
can even use ours as a template to create.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So
So we
Remind
have a
us to
middle
send it
school
to
and
you.
we have a high school template, actually.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
because they're a little more specific, so.
Okay. Any questions at all on the OneNote and class notebook and why we're using each one of them? Okay. And again, it'll make a little bit better sense.
Yeah, when you
a little
see
bit,
it,
too.
we'll get
Yep.
to that then.
Okay. This is our role and what we did in this whole
A lot
process.
of background prep.
The first one, and we are very how-to oriented, and we try not to hold our teachers' hands too much, but we always have an idea of trying to create the best picture. And this is a picture of our Sapphire system. All right, this is our student learning management system, and we create like individual step-by-steps of we try to do the what's the book series? The Dummy's Guide to
Oh, yeah.
or I forget what it
Yeah.
is. We try to make it as simple as possible because we know we do weekly PLC sessions with our teachers, and we try to make it so it's what's that? It's like self-explanatory and easy enough for them to be able to follow this process. So we don't have to repeat ourselves 50,000 times in either PLCs or one-on-one sessions.
Yeah,
right?
because we do go through it and model it and walk them through it. We don't just hand them this paper and follow this, but it's like she said, like a reference to go back to.
Exactly. So the things that we used, and we need to push Microsoft on this issue because these are
All
paying for us to be
Microsoft
true. Is that the first thing we did is, if you're not familiar with it, PowerPoint from 2016 and later automatically comes with what's called Office Mix. It is an amazing tool. If you've never used it, it's awesome. You can do
Yes.
screen recordings, you can do voice recordings, audio clips, all sorts. Yep.
It used to be separate,
It
now
used
it's
to be
embedded.
it used to
It's
be an
embedded in
add-on.
PowerPoint.
You'd have to actually download it to be there. But now from 2016 on, it should be coming automatically with your program when you buy it.
So it must have been, because I had it a long time
Oh
ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
you could use it as an add-in. Yeah.
Yep.
So now I guess because of the ad disappeared, and now it's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's all-
it is a great tool. I've used it for many things. Because what's neat is if you can do a screenshot, so you can do how-tos, video how-tos on how to do it. And I sat down the one time, and luckily I did it in a one-hit wonder because I did a 13-minute video on creating this process of creating the digital notebooks for secondary level. I forget what the second one was. I guess it was a PDF. I created 2 different videos, but one I stayed after school one day and whipped it up, and now I take that, it'll create a screenshot, and it creates one file in PowerPoint that then you can then save as a media file. So I downloaded the video to YouTube, and it's out there now for students, like new students can create their own notebooks by using the video, which is pretty cool. Alrighty. Oh, here is, here is the video stuff. I'm not gonna play
We're
the
not
second.
gonna-
Just a
this
couple
is so you
seconds,
can
you'll see
see
what we
the
did.
And we put it on YouTube because we shared it out through our website, so we were able to link it, because we couldn't link it into the PowerPoints in our OneDrive, so.
And since we couldn't
But I'm
connect
sure
to
they,
the internet.
maybe the network system worked. We couldn't get to theirs. It wasn't even coming up on this laptop, so it's online.
The purpose of this video is to show
Yeah, we
you
were struggling. We were
one
fine
note
earlier.
notebook
And now it's not
that you'll be
able.
using to store your student data.
Yeah, oh wait.
The first thing
My
you
volume's
do is
turned down because
is make sure
My
that you're on the
laptop
school's
makes really
website.
strange noises when.
Once there, scroll down and click on Students Resources.
I hate my voice on video. But you get the idea.
Scroll down
This is-
So
again,
basically, it's
and
screen
from the
recording.
choices displayed, find the one that
Exactly,
says
through the process.
Office
You can read all the way through the
365
process.
and click on it.
And you did all this, you're saying with
Office
Office
Mix.
Mix.
Some of you may need to log in.
Yep. All it does
So
is
do
you
so
click
now.
on the option to do a screen recording, and it does you click and drag. You can even do just a
Remember to
portion.
log
You want
in
to
using
just
your
do this
email
portion of the
and
class
then your
or the
password.
Screen, you just block off that portion. It's very, very easy to do.
So she was pretending she was logging in as a student.
On the screen
because these
display,
videos
you'll
were
soon
really
see
intended
the
for
options that we
students to
have
be
in
able to
Office
watch.
You'll
365.
notice it says good afternoon, Candy.
Find the
too.
one that
This
says
is her son.
OneDrive
So this poor child,
and
she's
click
got
on
two
I
it.
sons.
have 2 kids in high school and
We
they're
use them a
guinea
lot.
pigs. They have a lot of issues, believe me.
Near the
Okay, but you get the idea. That they actually.
And so that was like a really good resource for the students as well as the teachers to be able to, look at in advance before they had to do that.
This is why I wanted to download it. We never downloaded it.
Yeah, we weren't able to
We
download
forgot
it.
to download it. Okay.
All right.
Anyway, it's gonna be.
So, we already kind of talked about this, but one of our roles in preparing, this for taking it out to the students is we needed to talk with the teachers, and we did that. No, it's okay. We did that during our PD.
We have like PLCs that we meet with teachers once a week, like we said earlier.
Yes.
So we have like a class notebook that we set up teachers as students in it, and so we kind of housed all that how-to stuff in that to give them access to that.
So this is
Another
this is
example of using
our
our
class
class
notebook. This is a K through 12 class notebook. This is for teachers. They're in it as students. We are the teachers of them, if you will. In our coaching role, we're there to support them. So we put like all of our professional development as much as we can into this notebook. We just build everything out. So it's a
couple of
one-stop
how-tos.
shop for them on how-tos. But so we have obviously this video in the PLC notebook, and that's how they can access it at any point, as well as it is on the district website for the students to access. So and we can talk a little bit more again about our notebook and everything, after we get through. If we have any questions, but so we showed them how to create the notebook, and then we created the secondary goal sheet templates in Microsoft Word. We're making sure we're sharing how all of the Microsoft tools were used here. So we've used Word, Office Mix, Class Notebook, and then we uploaded our files to create the notebooks onto the district website. So this is our district's website, and this is anybody has access to this. I mean, even you would have access to this. And we'll talk a little bit more about these files. We'll dig into a little bit, but over here, these were all of, on the right-hand side was everything that the students would need to create their actual notebook. Because in the notebook, and you'll see a sample of it, we have like an introductory page, like a welcome page, like what's the purpose? Like for the students to know what the purpose is. Like at the first year when we were doing this, they're like, wow, why are we doing this? They didn't understand it. And they're still learning. And then we had some purpose pictures, and we had goals, just some images, and then directions for data entry. And then we had some different templates for them to use.
In the same area also, we have the goal sheets that we were talking about earlier. They're right there for the students to download off the website. So they
And
don't
we'll
have to
go
get
back and
emailed
dig
or
into them a
ask
little
a
bit
teacher
more
for them.
then.
They're all there.
So if we go to your website, is this like open to the public?
Yep. I'll even take
And we'll
you.
share the website there.
I will take you there now and show you that you would just type in Milton.
I just wanted to know if it was, like,
MiltonSD.org.
login to see it, but you have it out there.
Yep, it's super easy. It's Milton SD. Go to our vision and investing in our future.
Yeah,
And our
Milton.
digital teaching and learning resources over here.
And we can collect
Right down.
emails here from you, and if you want anything. Or we have our email we did at the beginning.
We'll show it at the end.
We'll show it at the end if you want to
Or if
email
you need
us.
to leave early, we'll
Yeah.
give you our emails.
Yep.
So those are the files. This is like I said.
Get rid of us.
No, we're so happy. If you need to leave, but so just so you know, like we tried to make this, all of the information easily accessible for the students. Again, not holding hands. We want them to be accountable. We want them to start being, take ownership in this process. So
And this portion of it too is for now. any new student coming into the district to create this documentation. It's here. In the process, a year and a half ago, when we first started doing this, and we're gonna get into this in a little bit, we actually used Outlook to, there's another Microsoft plug, Outlook to email the students these files, and we'll explain why that's not a good idea to do shortly, okay? Alright. Here we go, and I think this was me. And like I said, this is what we had done. We emailed the students the instructions, the links to the YouTube videos, the 3 or 4 different files that they would need to create the class notebook. And you'll see what those files are in just a second. They're more like pictures than anything. Ready? And the last one, and I wish those things weren't there. We then, the 3 of us and other coaches, we have a couple other people on our team as well, visited classrooms after PLCs with staff, so they kind of knew the process as well. And we helped by showing the videos and walked around with the students and making sure that the process was followed through. It was a long learning process, and we'll talk about that in the first year. All right? Yeah. Okay.
All right, so the elementary process. So are anybody in here at elementary? You are, okay. All right, I wasn't gonna do it if nobody was in here. So for the elementary process, like we said earlier, we did class notebooks. So we had, we first had to have the teachers create the notebooks. So they would create a class notebook and they would set it up with like all the files. They would have like all the folders within the notebook, like if it was goals and ELA artifacts, related arts artifacts, math artifacts, whatever it was, we'd have the teachers set up the folders, and that was kind of laid out in our how-to. So we then would have them set up, add in the students, and so I'm going to show you an example of a teacher's class notebook.
Can I ask you a question? Like,
Yeah.
when I loaded? So, one of the biggest complaints from our elementary people are, well, it takes them too long to log into Office 365. Because we have a lot of kids, so that the usernames are a little more complicated. Is that an issue that you're like, hey, kindergarten class, log into your notebook?
Right. So we have iPads for our K through 5. So like when you log in once, it's like, and we do it in the app, in the OneNote app, then it like doesn't remake you keep logging in.
In any Microsoft product, once a student's logged in once, it keeps them logged in for everything.
We share device. We
Yeah.
share device.
You'll get there.
We're like
it's
single
a,
one for one.
And we still were like, even before, we were trying to bring in some like notebooks even before we were 1-to-1. And it is a little bit more of a challenge, but it's possible.
So this is like a superstar teacher that we're showing as an example, but like she has like her welcome page, and then each thing that she wants them to maybe put artifacts into, or different folders that she wants them to. Like here's their goals. So this is like where they would then in their own section. So like a kid in their own section, they would enter these things into their own notebook. So if you're not familiar with it, like the kids will see the same thing that's in the teacher content library on theirs, but theirs won't have like they'll be able to actually write on their own, like or draw or add text or whatever to their own. So basically, that's kind of like how the setup is. So it's a notebook where you have like all the file sections and the pages within it, and then they can actually write on top of these within the notebook. One really cool thing was that, like with our original notebooks, when they were paper hard copies, you were limited to paper hard copies, and so you didn't have things like student videos or audio of kids, and that's kind of like a cool thing that with the digital notebooks, you can have kids that actually speak like into their notebook, and it records it. So it was under gold.
And y'all know about Immersive Reader, right?
You know about
One of the best things Microsoft has ever done. Oh my goodness.
And we noticed the other day, like it's not just in OneNote anymore.
Yeah,
No, it's
I know,
in
it's
Word,
everywhere.
it's
It's
in,
on the
like-
internet and everything. Yeah, that's awesome.
My goal is to get good at taking a sneak peek.
It's like this is a first
This
grader
is
saying
their
their
goal.
goal, they're verbalizing
So-
it. And they could insert that audio into their OneNote very easily just by going insert, and then they could do
We
John's
can't,
notebook.
yeah.
Oh, we can't do it because
Yeah.
it's not our notebook, but the kid could, the child could. So, just kind of like a added benefit of being digital, besides the fact that they're not gonna get thrown out when mold comes and all the binders get.
And I know this
covered in
particular
mold.
teacher, like she also like has the students go up and take pictures of their writing samples or artwork or anything, and they can add whatever they want. Like if they just want to share something that they feel very proud of, they can do that. So they really do. It's an amazing tool. Like this resource is amazing, not just for data collection, but in general. Like it's.
So here's my question, so once the kids, so you have them for second grade, and then they go to third grade, so then they create a whole new notebook
Yes,
for
yes.
that grade
Yeah.
level?
That's one of the
So
things that
quite
we're
honestly,
talking
that's
about.
like one of the.
No, it's all good.
No, yeah.
No, you're good. It's a great
Great.
question.
So like that's one of our we have like at the very end we say like the good, the bad, like basically. So that is kind of a thing that's a little bit okay. So they're gonna have K through 5th grade. They're gonna have 6 different notebooks that you go to, but then we have streamlined it because they create their own notebook in 6th grade. That 6 through 12, it'll be the same notebook because they create it within their own
Right.
drive.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they'll have their own, and it's not a class notebook.
Do you guys know how much data that can handle?
Oh,
I think more than they'll ever put in.
Yeah.
Now, unless they're doing a lot of audio and video clips, they might see a morning or what, but it's huge. It's
we have so much in
I think
our
it
PLC.
might even be like 500 gig or something like that. It's very large.
One terabyte.
Yeah.
It used to be 1 terabyte. I think they shortened it about a year
1
ago. They made it
terabyte,
small.
yeah.
That's
I
what we
mean,
saw.
we put so much stuff just in that initial PLC notebook that we shared with you, that resource. I mean, we have a ton of things in there, like so many files and uploads and videos and you know different things like that, and we've never had
When
an
your kids
issue.
are uploading files, are you just having them take like images with their phones or the iPad?
The
With
iPads,
their
yeah.
iPads. K to 5 have the iPads.
So they're just taking a picture?
Yes.
Yep.
Well,
They could.
Can I just tell you one thing?
Yeah.
So I do this and I have just a class notebook. There's an app, it's called Cam Scanner.
We have tiny
It's free.
scanner too.
Yeah.
Is it the same?
I don't know if it's the same. I know it makes it like almost perfect.
There's actually, I
Awesome.
think there's a
Very cool.
Microsoft tool also.
It's Microsoft Lens.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that just came out.
Yeah.
Microsoft
Does
Lens.
it
Yeah.
do that
Awesome.
same thing where it adjusts the
Yes.
picture
Yes,
automatically?
it
Cool.
yep, we
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
And you
We'll
can
look that up.
write, you
I just
can
learned about that
crop
too.
it, edit it, write on it.
I was just looking
Yes.
at that.
It's like a canvas type
So
thing.
that's that. Or if, and you know, specifically when you get to the secondary level, when they are creating more Word files and PowerPoint then you know
And
you can
headings
just
and digitally.
insert the actual file in there. So
And a lot of them, it's kind of cool that we still, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, we'll jump around a little bit here and there, but it's neat to see that there's certain groups of kids that's just like, oh my god, we're doing this. But then there's some kids that just shock you. We are very career oriented. We have auto shop, we have wood trades, we have building construction, all within our district. And our auto shop kids are loving it. They're going out because they know, in that sense, in a trade kind of sense, they're building themselves a professional portfolio. So they're taking, devices. Luckily, some of them have a laptop that's two-in-one that flips over, and they videotape them working on engines and that kind of thing as part of their portfolio.
Or they're taking
so
their
it's kind of
phones
cool that the draw that it's getting from some of these kids and the value that they're seeing in this process.
And I think as we're getting, maybe the last year when we first rolled this out, first of all, we told you at the beginning here that our first 2 weeks of school, we didn't start school until 2 weeks later than we were supposed to start because of the mold. And then that just really threw everything off, and it was the one-to-one device, and the distribution, it was our first year, and the distribution was supposed to go so differently. It was supposed to be like, all right, this grade level at night, you have a parent orientation, we did this, you would do that, and it was a very very well laid out plan.
We started this
Best
process.
plans, you know what they say about best laid, well thought out plans, they don't really usually go that way. So it was a struggle, and so between the device distribution, and then we were just kind of like, okay, so now we're doing this digital notebook because that was a district initiative at the beginning of last year, even before Moldgate, if you will, that we were going digital, and we had to determine how we could make that happen. And initially it was going to be like teachers were going to have to photocopy things. and upload it themselves, each document for each
So
student.
this is like kind of
So
our
this
answer
is
to
kind of
that.
our answer, but yeah, it was,
So I'll show you too, like how you can, like as a teacher, like get notebook links. So what we did was, you know, we said like you would have like one notebook per year, per school year, K through 5th grade. So we have like this PDF that we send out to teachers, and there's a live link in here. Eventually, in a second. Well, it's letting me show you this. So, it looks like this. So I was just going to show it to you. Like, so it has like basically an overview about what it is. It has a student name, and then there's this the notebook link. And to get the notebook link, you just like within your teacher notebook, you would go to class notebook, click these little dots, manage notebooks. It's gonna make me sign. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It'll have to be right back.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So anyways, it has like this like link where it says get parent links. Maybe you're familiar if you've done a class notebook before. But you can get parent links, and then actually those links can be view only links, and they're not editable links. So then those are the links we actually used for our like this PDF that we created for that we put in that notebook. Okay, so it's right here. So parent and guardian links, and then you could get it for all students and just click get links, and it'll have like a whole list of all the links. So that's just like one way with the elementary that we made it shareable.
and so you can share your notebook with whoever you want to. But
So like through this PDF, so
Yeah.
you create the PDF with a live link, and so what we did was we then had the teachers upload that PDF to Sapphire, which is like our LMS, our grade book for our students, and so then when they uploaded it to Sapphire, then anybody who clicks on the link within the district, like if you're sitting in a meeting and saying, oh my goodness, like we need to look at this kid's work, then you literally could just say, instead of being like back in the day when the teacher would have to go find the binder in the classroom, they'd say, no, let's just go into this in Sapphire, click on the link, it takes you right to that kid. So that's kind of like the biggest benefit.
like our
of
superintendent, she said, you know, if I'm in a meeting or I want to talk or look up information about a student, I want to be able to have easy access. And instead of her having, you know, access to every, you know, teacher's notebook or every student in the district, this was our solution, what Jana just went over, that PDF that we uploaded to Sapphire that everybody has access to, and that all they'd have to do is go in and click on that link, and then it's just a view-only link in there.
So how often do the teachers upload these?
We upload the link one time.
K through
It's a live
5,
link.
yeah, each at the beginning of the
Oh,
year.
so it's a live link.
Yes, so K through 5.
As the kids update it, it's updated, like it's a live link,
Okay.
yeah.
Luckily for grades 6 through 12, they only have to create it one time in 6th grade, and then that one link stays with
Because
them all
it's
through
the
12th
same
grade.
student's notebook, it's not a class notebook
Yep,
from the
it's
teacher.
their doc.
Right.
So
good-
in the
It's
elementary,
like
this,
a print to
Yeah.
PDF type.
No,
Yeah.
it's a live link, no.
Yep.
in the elementary, once the teacher has it all set up on the back end, then like within the class notebook, then the students, we just kind of gave them support with coaching support and teacher support, teaching them how to log into their iPads, like you were talking about earlier, doing the class notebook app, and then we would show them like how to take pictures with their iPad, and I love that, like how you guys read up about that other app, that would be great to utilize as well. But then they could then add in things, so there's not these stacks of papers that, oh, put this in your notebook. It's like, oh, I think this is a great thing that showcases something that I'm very proud of. I'm just going to take a picture of it, or I'm just going to insert that into my notebook.
And there's
So it makes it so much more meaningful, and the students have ownership over it. And the same thing, they add goal sheets to like their goal sections as well. So
And the goal sheets are basically, and both at the elementary level, that, like we talked to, we don't really have a template, a K through 5 template. Individual teachers would create their own template, perhaps, or they would just let it more, you know, open for the students. So, really good. All right, so Jana just shared kind of the K through 5 process because it is a little bit different. There was a little more work on the teacher's end for the K through 5 process, just initially to get it set up, but once the students have access and know, then it's smooth sailing. With the secondary process, they really had to kind of learn about the actual process, the purpose, the expectations, before they could go into the classrooms and share it out. And so as we mentioned before, we really, in our PLC time, we modeled a notebook creation and really took them through that. And we talked to them about the purpose and like, why are we doing this? And this is actually going to help you in the long run, because initially they're like, more work to do, because up front they had to upload one time that first year, upload some documents and kind of go through the process with all of their students. So it was like, oh, and especially last year with our late start, it was a little bit stressful, but we were really trying to walk them through, like, in the end, it's going to be a lot less work for you, because you're not going to the copier to, upload, student data, because our district is requiring it to be digital this year. How are you going to do that everybody has access to? Yes. Yes.
So when they made their first notebook and they had all those sections in it, and then they had the kids underneath in the class notebook, is there a way, because I've never tried it, is there a way to okay, it's a new school year, and then copy all of
Yes.
that?
There is now.
Because I was like, man,
Yeah.
I would try.
Before this school year, you'd run into trouble. But I'm an MIE, a Microsoft Innovative. I just left Seattle last month after a week, and Mike Folfson is the lead guy, and he told us all the little sneak peeks. And it is now, there's so many different things that are coming out in this month, and the fact that you can absolutely 100% take one and make a copy of it and have it ready for the
And our
next year.
teachers even could do that at the beginning of
Yeah,
this
but
year.
there was
We had a couple
issues,
glitches,
syncing
but-
issues and that kind of thing, and now it's going to be totally foolproof. So it's yeah.
And for the secondary
It's like
process,
right-click copy, like in your OneDrive. It's super easy.
Yep.
and that really is only relevant to the elementary K through 5, because the
Right, the
6th
order.
grade students through
Right.
12th are creating their own individual notebook one time, and it follows them through, and they don't have to do that. We always say, well, the 6th grade teachers, the only ones that kind of have to repeat this process every year. And like this year, when they were uploading all these, the links that we shared, we were in there, we're supporting, like, give us the list of names, we'll help you with this, we'll do whatever we can, because you're the only ones that are kind of having this put on you. So we shared all of the information, we kind of walked them through the process. Then the teachers went back to the classrooms, thank you. They went back to the classrooms and shared the information, the videos, the process, walking them through it with their students, with our support. And then we have like their different class times or their pride times that they would create it. And then the only really other responsibility for the only other part that the teachers were responsible for were really just verifying the links, because the students were doing all of the creation of the notebook. The students were creating the PDF, like they took the Microsoft and then they were copying their link for the student notebook, for their OneNote, putting it into the PDF and then emailing it to the teachers. This first year, like that first year, and in 6th grade, that was the only other time that you would have to do that moving forward. So when the teachers would get the email from their students, and they would email their homeroom teacher, the students would actually fill this out, copy their link, email that to the teachers, because the students were unable to upload to Sapphire, okay? So that was the only other responsibility that the teachers had, was to just click on the link, make sure it opened to the student's notebook, because sometimes the students didn't, they copied a wrong link or something, but that was just really the only thing the teachers needed to do up front. Okay, and then after that, it was maintenance. So for example, if a new student came into the district, you just kind of needed to make sure that that new student had a notebook created. And really, we are there to support. Like, we see who's coming into the district, and as soon as a new student is, we're like, all right, we'll create the notebook, get them started, and really, so they really don't have, we really try to support them as much as possible with this. But even if we didn't do that, it's step by step and laid out for them, and the teachers are comfortable with the process now.
Okay. Now, the secondary process, as far as the students
I kind of went into
are
a little bit.
concerned, all right? They're going to be creating their OneNote student notebook through class notebook, or I'm sorry, through OneNote. Like we showed you earlier, they went to the website. Either now they'll go to the website to get the documents that they'll need, and you'll see those in just a second. But prior to that, we would be emailing them the couple of files that they would need to get the process. And the reason why I had said earlier that this wasn't a foolproof way, if you're familiar with the defaults in Outlook, online Outlook, not the Outlook program, the default to reply is reply all. Stupid in my mind, it should be reply, not reply all, because we would send out files to the entire class of 2025, 2024, 2023, and so on. Some middle schoolers like to reply
High
to
schoolers.
these, and they automatically go up there in the corner, click reply, and they think they're going to reply to just the person who sent it, and they don't. They reply it to about 800 people at one shot. And it got to the point that our middle school principal, who happens to be, her husband, got a little fed up with it, ended up having to send up emails, and we ended up sitting with some of these students on one-on-one time and teaching them about the difference between reply and reply all, and the fact that you shouldn't use either one when things like this are being emailed to you. But anyway, through the use of the how-to videos we showed you earlier, and teachers and us coaches and so on, we got the kids to make these things. They then, like in the elementary level, as far as the teacher is concerned, the students here went to get their read-only link, and the way they get theirs is a little different than the one or the class notebook, in that in OneNote they go to the share option, and you can switch your settings in there a little bit to make it so you can get a read-only link to the document. They then took that read-only link, popped it into that PDF, emailed it to their teachers, and then that teacher put it in the Sapphire.
Can't they just go into the thing, click share?
Yep, that's right. That's what I just said.
Yeah, but then
No,
we
but-
wanted them to put it into the.
on like
Yes.
a-
No,
Right.
the reason why is
Yeah.
because at that point in time, if they shared, they would have to share it with all teachers, not just their own. Because when we took it, when we had them put it into that PDF, and that PDF went to Sapphire, every teacher in the district has the ability to get into that.
From OneNote, like in OneNote,
Mm-hmm.
go to share and share the read-only.
If we could have uploaded just that link to our Sapphire program, that would have been.
But we don't have the ability. You have to put documents into the program.
Yes,
That's just
that's
kind of like our
yeah.
workaround. But yes, would have been a smart way to do it if it would
Yeah.
allow us to do it that
The
way.
reason, and a little bit of a detail that we left out too is, in the past couple of years, we've revamped our MTSS system, the multi-tiered system of support, and we, through Sapphire, and they have a booth here, and we got to be really good friends with Sapphire people because we call them all the time. They've helped us
Sapphire.
develop this MTS process. We have actual forms that are in there that we created that Sapphire put into their program for us, to be able to go through this process. And one of the areas is our student data collection area. And I was just whispering this to Jenna, that one detail that we kind of left out of the slideshow is what we had in mind for this process before we chose this option. And that was, in that area that Sapphire and we worked together to build, is to have the teacher putting in these artifacts. Because students don't have access to this area that Sapphire helped us build. And it would be 95% responsibility in the hands of the teacher. They'd have to go make photocopies or take pictures of the things that they wanted to have into their students' data for all of the students they have.
It was actually a teacher who created a class notebook and
An
gave us the
elementary
idea
school teacher
to
who
do
wasn't
it.
even with our district anymore.
Yeah.
That came up with this idea that we then kind of
We're
went a
like,
little
okay,
further
we
with.
can make this
Yeah.
work. And, and as one teacher, I wouldn't want to have, 30 some different notebooks one year, the next year, so we had to come up with having a way that we could access the notebook without us having to have scrolling through hundreds of potentially through the years all these notebooks. So I don't know if that's what you were saying about just share with the teacher.
Right.
That's the reason why we didn't do that, because it would just become very cumbersome for the teachers.
The rest of the steps are the same as the elementary level, but the difference between here is, again, in 6th grade, they create it one time and it stays with them throughout their school. Alrighty. Students have set the expectations, and it's pretty much the same as far as some of the things that we've already talked about. Their goal sheets have to be put in here. Teachers will make certain artifacts that they want to be placed in here. Personal, if they see something that they've done that they're really proud of, or that they really even struggled on. It doesn't always have to be a positive thing. Things that really troubled them through, and they fought through it and figured things out, can be put in here. as well as certain, school-wide initiatives where we have,
Positive
Smart
action.
Futures and not Smart
Positive
Futures.
action.
Positive action things, activities that the kids doing school-wide, they put them in here too. We specifically put those
And
sections
that's kind
in.
of in our content here, yeah. So our required content is, the students they're supposed to do monthly goal sheets, and then they put in artifacts from each of their classes if they want to. There's a required, they have to, at the high school, they're required to at least just put one artifact from any of their courses. But a lot of students put in random ones. So this is an actual example of one student's just the high school or the secondary level, if you will. And they're basically set up. So the notebook purpose, that kind of is their, explanation of everything. Positive action. Then here are the goal sheets. So you can see that this student has luckily filled out all of theirs for this year, or mom would be not happy with him.
This is hers.
My son. Again, guinea pigs. But so here's just an example of, you were asking for an example of the template. So this is what we have for a high school level. So if you scroll down so I can see, yeah. So at the, they just put their name, their grade, the school year, the month, and then just gave a little bit of information to the student. And then they have a short-term goal, and then they're supposed to kind of put their progress each month when they go through it. So this might have been their goal from February, and they can go in and update what's their progress on this goal so far. We are almost at the end of February, so he's putting in some information that kind of goes through his progress at that point. And then they can just upload different ELA artifacts, so we won't go in that one. He didn't have a bunch.
And the positive action too, what we talked about earlier too.
So going back, let's just go back to the data up there at the top, the data folder. I was just going to show them a middle school template. The website, the data-driven, the tab at the top, data-driven, the Milton site. Yeah. Oh,
Got 5 minutes.
What are you showing?
I was just going to show them, that was an example of the high school. We said we were going to show them a quick example of the high school.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
the middle school is right below there. I was just going to quickly show you because there is a bit of a difference. Because the middle school, it's a little more, I don't know if we have this. Yeah, it's a little more detailed and a little more, where they're not it's not so broad. It's narrowed in a little bit. So they are to put in their current course grades. They can look and most of this stuff they can just look up. They can look up their current course grades. Can't get it out. A behavior plan. So we want them to set a behavior goal as well. And then they put their attendance, their CDT, because that's something that's data that's tracked. That's not going to be monthly, but if they put it in, at the beginning of the year, they put it in. If the next month they didn't take a CDT, then they wouldn't have to, update that. We just adopted K through 8 iReady for math and reading. So that's why it's specific to iReady, September goal, and January. And the reason why those two goals are like that is because that's when they do a diagnostic. So after they take that diagnostic, look at it, okay, what's a long-term goal that I can set? And then they mark if their goals have been met, and then they put their scores in. So, and we at one point, I think we took it out this year, but the students know that they can always go in there if they just wanted to put their own personal goal, whether anything. Kind of I think my son put in a personal goal for varsity tennis or whatever. His goal was to get a top seed in varsity. So that's something that the students could do, and you can make it your own, but you want to narrow it down a little bit, but be a little more specific with the middle school. Yeah, the high school, it's a little more open, okay, we have lots of
already
goals.
done it in middle school, they kind of know the process.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, here's the reflections. There we go. And we did touch on a couple of these. Like I said before a couple times, that it was a long learning process through network connections that weren't quite working correctly because they all try to do it at one time, that kind of thing. We mentioned it earlier, at the elementary level, they have to create them every year. And if the teacher leaves the district, we now can copy it. But we haven't had this happen yet, and we think the Guardian links will probably have to be redone to that to reflect the new teacher's creation, or the copy of the new teacher, or the new notebook.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The happy things, like we said before, notebooks created in 6th grade, you have to do it one time, that's it. Alrighty. The Guardian links, really cool at the elementary level, and some teachers are doing this. The Guardian links are also for parents, and they're actually sending them home, putting them on Class Dojo, that kind of thing. So all the students have, or the teachers have to do at home is tap on that link, and you'll be able to see what their kids are doing. So it's kind of a cool thing too that Microsoft offers. Secondary level, they're more in charge. They have the responsibility, I don't know, the ownership of that, and the buy-in is really good so far, and it's getting better. And the students are building, like I said before, whether they're going to college, to trade schools, to wherever, they're building that professional portfolio, especially from the high school level on what they're going to be doing.
Carrying big orange binders with them while they do it.
And most importantly, no more paper.
We're in those big orange binders.
Exactly. All right, and I know we had already answered a lot of your questions, but
Should we put up our information in case they,
Yep.
if you guys want to email us too, if you say like, hey, like I can't find this on your website, like can you send me that goal sheet or send me where to, like send us an email and we'd be happy to give you that information.
oops. Well, you did go back to the beginning.
Yeah, we were in the online version. We wanted to get out, and
I forgot.
sometimes the online version is just not fun. We made it through.
Which slideshow at the top maybe?
There it goes.
There we go. There's our emails. So.
Any questions? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
For
sticking
bearing
around.
with us and being here
Appreciate
at
it.
this late at night, and it's like dinner time. Yay!
Rock, thank you for not being the only one in here.
There's a lot of Microsoft options, yeah.
Yes, there's so much. that you
Microsoft
can
has
do.
become so
Right.
powerful. It really is.
It's nice to,
Yes, everything's Google. I mean, and that's great. It's great. It's a great tool to use for whoever is using it, and whatever. But
No, all of the stuff they have for education now is just,
Overwhelming.
And I'll tell you what, through my experience with Microsoft and what I've done over the years and that with them, it has, their goal has totally, I mean, it's technology, but it's teachers.
Yeah.
And you have an idea and you let them know, they will email you and they'll call you and
We went to the trainer academy in 2016, and from what they had then, because it was just kind of up and coming then,
Yeah.
to where they are now is just.
it's mind blowing.
Our biggest problem isn't, we could do a lot of things if they had a device. Like, I'm telling
Yeah,
you, logging
exactly.
in is the biggest.
I definitely we remember those days, and
Yeah,
it is.
so it's like, oh, we can't do this with the kids, oh, we can't do that, but if they had a device where they just clicked on the app and it was already logged in, you could do so much more.
It's a game changer when that happens.
Yeah.
It really is.
Still
Yeah.
working on it.
We had a couple of years of struggle like that too. And if you're not in a district that doesn't have gas companies that are willing to give you the grant and the money and all that, then yeah.
We're getting closer to the
Yeah,
elementary.
sorry.
Yeah. If they approved our budget, we got.
Yeah.
We'll be basically.
Were you part of the KTO? The Keystone Cooperative? Yeah, it was a grant thing that was several years ago now. That kind of got us
Yes, you can like.
in the
If
going
you
in
need
the right
any help,
direction.
just give us shoot us an email, whatever. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, we're doing that. We're in the middle of that right now.
Yeah, so we're gonna get.
Well, it's nice meeting you.
Yeah. Do you know when we
Maybe
know?
next year we'll.
Because I know
Maybe next
our-
year we'll be presenting and.
Yeah.
Is
That was due like mid-January or something like that, I think it was.
And you can present.
We
Our
got the regular just target grant.
Yes, that was like 25 or 30,000. Yeah, we got that.
one, and then we applied for the other one, but they haven't said anything.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
We were hoping we'd know by
Last year
now.
when we were at P&C, we heard, that's when I found out, oh, you didn't get it. So, and the P&C was earlier last year, so I don't know why they didn't announce it yet. So maybe I'm not
Oh, wow.
going to.
Yeah, right, right.
Maybe I don't even know.
Yeah, right.
Either. Yeah, but everything was going to our
Yeah, we've been
superintendent, and she's been off,
Yeah.
not coming back. So, but I think she was forwarded.
I'm sorry, where did you guys say you were from?
Ambridge.
Ambridge.
Right up the road.
Oh, okay, wow.
I'm from
So,
around here.
nice, locals, huh?
Yeah.
Well, have a
Quick
great
trip
night.
for you. Thank you again.
Thank
It was
you.
nice.
Thank you.
And good luck with getting anything, you know, I know you were saying.
Well, we have this weird, like,
Bye, Brock.
they're pushing us to Microsoft. Teachers have Microsoft accounts.
Right.
Kids kind of have Microsoft accounts.
Right. Yeah, and we were,
But
that's, yeah.
kids, the kind of accounts that kids have aren't in the same spot as a teacher Microsoft account.
Huh.
So like, I have a OneNote. I could make a class notebook,
Right.
but I can't get the kids
To make their own OneNote.
in my class notebook.
Oh, really?
Do they have email addresses?
They do, but they're not connected to my
Not
email.
connected to your.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, I worked
That's
with,
a tech issue. That's your tech.
Do we have people?
Yeah. I worked with my tech people.
And they still have to
And
figure it out.
they were like, they can't talk to each other. And I'm like, can you make them talk to each other? That's unfortunate.
Contact Microsoft and like the tech people should contact Microsoft and say, like, hey,